Good morning. This is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. I'm Michael D. Day along with Neil Paul Miller, and we're broadcast on WTQT 106.1 LPFM. And WTQT was founded in 1996 by Dr. Ernest L. Johnson, president of the Louisiana NAACP. WTQT and its parent organization, the Louisiana Community Development CAP Fund. The CAP Fund continues to help countless families to lead happier, more prosperous lives. If you're interested in partnering with our station, opportunities are available. Contact our community coordinator by calling 225-343-1075. And we are broadcast not only on WTQT 106.1 FM in Baton Rouge, we're also on TV, Neil. They can see your shiny head on TV.
No, figure that one
there's
out.
not. We're not. Well, there. I think it's a simulcast on TV in Shreveport, Louisiana, channel K31.2. That's digital TV, Neil. Alexandria, channel K38.2, and online at www.wtqt.org. Now, with that said, you can also pick up rebroadcast of our shows at Baton Rouge Local 198 on Facebook and YouTube, Baton Rouge Labor Radio. Now, this morning, we're back from holidays. Neil, you see this big sandwich I got? You see this big sandwich?
Yes.
You know what's in it?
What?
Crow. It's a crow burger.
Well, Mike, I was fixing to say, I feel like I'm on...
it's a crow burger.
I feel like I'm on, what is it, the peanuts with Charlie Brown?
You see this?
Mike's got a big orange shirt on. I feel like I'm in the pumpkin patch.
You see this big bowl of soup? You know what that is? That's crow soup, too.
All right.
Now, what you see this on my face? I can't tell you on the radio what's on my face. But for weeks, I sat here and I yelled and I screamed about the Wi-Fi at the radio station, and it turned out that it wasn't the station, it was me. Okay? And I'm willing to accept responsibility for that. And, hey, Neil had our internet guy come in here and check everything out, and he couldn't find the station was good enough to go along with it, and so I owe an apology to our audience and the radio station, and I wish I could say the rant will never happen again, but I'd be lying to you.
I think you would.
So I'm not going to say that, but I am going to apologize to everybody at the radio station and our audience for the rant. This morning, Neil, we've got a guest calling in, and I guess we're going to go straight to that.
Yeah, I think he's calling in right now.
Yeah, we got our guest. Let's see. Let me make sure I got everything. Good morning.
Good morning,
Eric.
Good
morning, Eric. Well,
did Eric hang?
No, Eric's on.
Morning, guys.
Hey, Eric.
I had the phone on silent there.
Oh, okay, Eric. Introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Well, my name is Eric Fogelsong, and I work with the Louisiana AFL-CIO and a national group out of Washington, D.C. called the National Public Pension Coalition. And our job is to make sure that folks that retire in Louisiana get to retire with a pension that they can actually live on instead of the pension that Bobby Jindal wants to give them, which is something that will return them to a cycle of poverty and make sure that they have no money to spend in any store in Louisiana.
Well, and how do you go about doing that, Eric?
Well, for the past 2 years, we have had an effort ongoing in the legislature. As many folks know, Bobby Jindal wants to bring his bright ideas to Louisiana. And has pushed an effort on the legislature to create a cash balance plan for Louisiana's public employees when they retire. And we have successfully fought back on those efforts. And I'm proud to say that because of the help.
What happened?
Hello? We must have lost our caller.
There it is.
Hello?
Eric?
Eric? Eric, we've lost you on the line. If our caller will call back, Eric. There he is. We got him back.
Got it?
Good morning. Good morning, Eric.
Sorry about that, guys. There's nothing like technology on a Saturday morning, right?
Yeah, really. So, you were saying, Eric.
I don't know where I lost you guys, but
we were fortunate in the legislation to swat some agendas stuff.
Yeah,
go ahead and reintroduce yourself, Eric.
Well, my job is to make sure that there is a voice in the legislature as it relates to pensions. The AFL-CIO has one of the best lobbying teams in Louisiana, in my view, when it comes to protecting workers' rights in the state of Louisiana. And it's always good to be on the side of right. Am I right, guys?
Absolutely.
And so when we get down there into the legislature, we have to play quite a bit of defense these days because, we've got Governor Jindal who thinks that big business and public workers are two very different things, and he always comes down on one side. So we play a lot of defense, but we've also been able to play some offense. And over the course of the past two legislative sessions, we have successfully beat back Bobby Jindal's terrible ideas about deforming public pensions. He's really got some cockamamie ideas about what our public workers deserve after a lifetime of service to the state. And rather than step up and do the right thing, do the thing that the legislature should have been doing for the past 10 years, he wants to make sure that the onus is on the backs of those retirees, take away the pension benefits they've already earned, shrink those benefits, and he wants to make sure that they've got a harder time when they retire. And we don't think that's right. And we've successfully lobbied the legislature to tell them that that's a bad idea. But we're pretty sure we've got another battle on our hands come this spring. And so we're trying to get prepared for it now.
Well, Eric, just for, I don't know, I guess just on my behalf or for my benefit, do you have any idea what Bobby Jindal's pension's going to be when he gets out of office?
It's funny you ask. In the 2012 legislative session, Bobby Jindal said that he had two big goals. One was to reform the public education system, which unfortunately he had a great deal of success with. And the other was that he was going to reform the pension system. Those were his two big stated goals. And as I said earlier, we were able to push back and ensure that he wasn't able to pass legally any of his bills. The only one bill that he did pass was overturned by the state Supreme Court. But the funny thing about all that is that when just before the legislative session started, Bobby wanted to know what he could do to increase his own pension payments once he retired from the state. And he's got a track record of sending out some golden parachutes to his chosen few. That would be legislators who have retired or taken other positions in his administration. The legislators do not get a pension as it exists now unless they're grandfathered in from being there so long. And a really nice thing for those that saw his way and given them cushy state jobs with very large paychecks that have enabled them to get a nice pension. Hell, his own mother, pardon me, I said the HE double hockey stick for guys on Saturday morning, but his own mother is a state employee, is going to get a pretty nice retirement through TRSL at some point here. But he doesn't want anybody else to have one. It's kind of an amazing thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Well, I mean, I don't know if you've listened to the show, but Mike and I have, I don't think you're going to find two bigger Bobby Jindal fans than us.
Well, you know, the best thing about Bobby Jindal running for president is how much time he spends outside the state, because he's not here to meddle with all the different things that he'd like to meddle with down here. So, you know, if the other 50 states want to have him, great, you know, have at him, because he hasn't done a lick of good for Louisiana.
Well, he also, I mean, it was, I don't know if it was in last week or week before's paper, they had a thing in there with all the ones that you were talking about, his little cronies that he set up in these cush jobs, or has almost doubled their salaries when he moved them from their predecessors.
Yep.
You know, how much campaign contributions these people have donated, I mean, put into his coffers. You know, it's kind of like I guess it's kind of like one of those temporary job services. You pay them to put you to work, you know.
Yeah, you know, Bobby Jindal thinks the state of Louisiana is for sale, and he's the guy that's putting it up.
Right. So, and Eric, again, you know, for the listeners, and we're gonna do this a couple times during your thing, but state your name again and who you're with, and you know, and.
Sure. You know, again, my name is Eric Fogelsong, and I work for the Louisiana AFL-CIO through a group called the National Public Pension Coalition, and our coalition is made up of the state's largest public employees. So you've got both of the Public Teachers Union, the Louisiana Federation of Teachers, Louisiana Association of Educators, AFSCME Local 17.
Yes.
We've got the Louisiana Firefighters Association, as well as the Baton Rouge Local Union of Police, and the SEIU of Louisiana. And then we have several of our partners that we have worked with over the course of the legislative session who will again be working with us this year. And that includes the AARP, Association of Retired Folks. You know, Mike, Neil, you guys aren't getting too close to being AARP members, are you?
Already are.
I am too. Been there for 2 years.
But we've got the NAACP as well of Louisiana. We work with a group called Together Baton Rouge and Together Louisiana. They're an offshoot of the Industrial Areas Foundation, doing some fantastic things here in the state of Louisiana to protect folks here and give them a voice. We work in conjunction during legislative battles with all of the state's largest public pension groups. That would be Lasers, ELSERS, TRSL. Work in conjunction with them to make sure that the legislators have all of the facts. And you know, we've put together this broad-based coalition of folks that are concerned about Louisiana. You know, the average retiree in Louisiana earns a public pension that's less than $20,000 a year. And I want people to stop and think about what $20,000 a year means, you know, when you're retired. Now, you know, the idea used to be that when you're retired, you know, you've paid off your home, you know, your kids are out of the house, you know, and those are supposed to be your golden years, right? And if you talk to anybody in the marketing world these days, they'll tell you that, you know, baby boomers who are now starting to retire are the generation we're counting on for spending more. Used to be the retirees didn't spend as much, but now we count on retirees to spend well until their later years. They're still buying cars and things like that. But if you're a public worker in Louisiana trying to retire on $20,000 a year, you may still have some housing costs, unfortunately, because of the downturn of the economy and the way the mortgage system has beat up on, average families. You may have some prescription drugs you're paying for. You've got food to put on the table, gas to put in the car, groceries, that kind of thing.
Well, you might also have grandkids that you're helping to raise, and
absolutely,
it's a different world than years ago. I mean, and also it's reality,
and folks need to remember that when you're a public worker, a public retiree in Louisiana, you don't get Social Security. Everybody forgets about that.
Yeah.
But that Social Security blanket that's available to everybody else isn't available to public employees in Louisiana because the state doesn't pay into it. And our pension benefit is supposed to be equivalent to Social Security.
And from what I read, the state really doesn't keep up with.
That everybody needs to remember.
Right, and from what I read, and the state really doesn't put up the money they're supposed to put up for the public employees either for their pension.
Exactly. When Bobby Jindal wants to scare folks when he talks about the unfunded accrued liability. They call it the UAL.
Why isn't it funded? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, the UAL it is a large number these days when you total it up for all of the different pension systems. But the reason that the UAL is a big number is not because public workers haven't paid their portion of their retirement.
Yep.
They've put in their money. They put in their money in every paycheck. The reason the UAL is high is because the legislature has failed to fund it every year. Legislature has kicked the can, down the street for years. But the good news is that the UAL is about to reach its tipping point. It's like a big curve, and we're about at the top of the curve in terms of the requirements of that. And in the years to come, the amount that the state will be forced to pay to cover the UAL is decreasing. At the same time, we've got historic returns coming in. TRSL reported $1 billion surplus in their UAL this year because of great returns, smart investing that they've made, and that goes to help, folks that need it.
Well, and let's get something straight with that, Eric, because I am a little familiar with pension funds. You made a comment that you had a $1 billion surplus. That $1 billion surplus is not just to pay down the unfunded liability that we currently have, but future liabilities that are right around the corner. Absolutely.
And the folks over at TRSL are, they're pretty sure everybody's going to be calling and wanting their little slice of that $1 billion. But you're absolutely right, Neil. That has to go to future obligations as well. So they're doing their job. It's time for the legislature to do its job and to pay the portion of retirement that it owes the workers of the state, to pay their fair share, so that these workers can retire with dignity. How fair is it to tell them after 30 years of service to the state, to their fellow citizens, that their retirement's going to be shrunk and they're going to be forced to go to the soup kitchen to go get free groceries, to deny them the dignity of retirement after putting in so many long years of important service to the state.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, with my dealings with the Pension Protection Act, I do know this, that in the past, the federal government, if a pension fund, a defined benefit pension fund, if they had made money, in any one particular year, they had to give that money as a raise, a future raise for the rest of these people's lives, which I'm all for. I believe in it. But what they did not do, they did not, like if you had a regular business or your regular day-to-day life, if for some reason I would work overtime when I was working out in the field, that extra money we would put in the savings account, and that was for a rainy day. The federal government did not allow these pension funds to have a rainy day fund. What they said was if you made $1 million profit that particular year, you had to disperse that to your pensioners, and that was future pensioners and your existing retirees, or you could just give it for the future ones. But normally it was across the board, and if you did not do that, then you got penalized, and it was 33% penalty to the federal government. So you had to pay out of that $1 million. You had to pay $300-something thousand in penalties, to the federal government for not giving a raise. So it was stupid on your part not to give the raise, and just, I guess you were rolling the dice year in and year out, saying that, hey, we're never going to take a loss. But then, depending on how your fiscal year ended, if your fiscal year ended in August, and by November, if you lost $1 million, but you made, if you made $1 million up until that August fiscal year, and then you lost $2 million by November, you still had to give that raise. You follow me? Even though when you do the basic math, 1 million from 2 million is 1 million in the hole, you still had to give that $1 million raise on the profit part that you made, or you were going to have to pay the tax on it. So instead of being a million in the hole, you'd have been 1.3 million in the hole. So I mean, the deck was stacked against it, and I'm all for the Pension Protection Act. I think what it did was it opened people's eyes up, and it's also allowing you that in the future you will be able to instead of giving a percentage of a raise, like a 3% across the board raise, that you could give an extra check that particular year, the way that the rules were wrote, that if you gave the extra check, if you did it 2 years,
one-time bonus, yeah.
Yeah, but if you did it 3 years in a row, they locked that in. Where you had to do it from then on. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, the Pension Protection Act, to be honest with you, was set up by a Republican-controlled House and a Republican-controlled Senate, along with the Republican president. And it was designed to cripple the unions. And I think what it did was it was just strengthen the union's hands as far as being able to do like a regular business does now, have a rainy day fund, be able to give the third check 3 consecutive years. So I think it opened up everybody's eyes and said, hey, we need to run this like everybody else, like we've been wanting to do for years, but you haven't allowed us. So
it's amazing, Neil. Unions operate by collectivizing workers' voices and workers' needs, right? The whole point is that together we're stronger, right? And a very wise man who we all know, Louis Wren.
I thought you were going to say Mike Day.
Looking at the website of a group called LABI, Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, where Bobby Jindal has parked one of his former senior aides, chief of staff, and trying to take over that organization and make sure it bends to his will after they put the kibosh on his terrible tax idea from last year. But right there on their website, in their own words, they talk about how they collectivize the voices of business, so that business can speak with a stronger voice. And as Louis says, boy, that sure sounds like a union to me.
Oh yeah. And it does, doesn't it? But I mean, again, I mean, we can, and we do a lot of times, we can sit here and just bash Jindal, and he makes it pretty easy for us to do that. but overall, if you look at, I was talking to a business owner the other day, and some of them, it ain't a lot of them. I've talked to some of them that, matter of fact, I talked to one pretty powerful guy here in Louisiana. I'm not going to say his name, but his comment to me, he was very disappointed in Bobby Jindal. But yet I had another one tell me just the other day that he's giving Bobby Jindal credit for the work coming in Louisiana. And now why is the work coming in Louisiana? Let's think for 1 second. Could it be the resources that we have?
Rolling on the
our natural resources.
Yeah, it's the resources. If you look at our natural gas, if you look at the pipelines, if you look at the waterways that we can.
They're coming here because they like Bobby Jindal.
Absolutely.
One of the best seaports in the United States of America.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly why they coming.
It's amazing. We probably got $2 billion of work coming to Louisiana because of those natural resources that you're referring to. The number might even be $3 billion.
You're not even close, Eric.
Going to build for
Eric,
gas and oil and everything else.
Eric, let me stop you right there.
Eric.
You're not even close. No, you're not even close with the billions. There's projected over $200 billion of work from the other side of Houston to Florida. With that being said, if only 160 of it is what a lot of the forecasters are predicting. We're going to do that. 27% is in the Lake Charles and surrounding area. So
exactly, but that's going to provide a whole lot of jobs for folks and some great things for Louisiana. The question is, can we capture it? You brought up a really important point, talking about those businessmen that you had spoken with. There's a group that loses out when public pensions are decreased, and we tinker with them. And it's a group that really, really needs to pay attention to this debate because they're not necessarily always on our side of the agenda. And that's the businesses of Louisiana. I'm talking about, the grocery stores, the convenience stores, the gas stations, the automobile dealerships, the pharmacies. All of those groups really need to pay attention to this debate on pensions, because what they need to remember is that pensions don't go sit in somebody's bank account. They get spent. And when dollars are spent, they're spent in stores. They're spent buying commodities. They're spent in, banks and things like that. And those folks need to remember that if Louisiana's citizens have less dollars to spend, they're the ones that are going to be hurt by that. And so as part of our effort this year, we've been talking to some of those businesses and making that point to them that this is an issue that should concern them because if there are fewer dollars being spent, it's their bottom lines that are going to be affected. Those businesses make money for their owners, but they also provide jobs for their employees. There's a whole cyclical effect here that folks need to be paying attention to as it relates to pensions. It's not just the public workers, that Bobby Jindal is going to be hurting if he gets his way and does what he wants to do with pensions. Louisiana's businesses will suffer as well.
Well, and I don't know for a fact, but I know I'm pretty close with this number. Louis Wren would have this answer. Maybe Mike knows this number. For every dollar that people with the
4.
Is it 4? It rolls over 4
Something
times.
like that.
I thought it was more like 6 or 7. Yeah.
Unemployment.
Fire effect is somewhere between 3 and 4 days.
Now, you're bringing up the pensions here, Eric, but just imagine how many convenience stores do you think would close down without SNAP or an older time food stamps?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stores would be folding like a cheap suit, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary, isn't it? And that's the short-term thinking, that folks come to. They think they're beating up on poor folk, and that poor folk aren't going to fight back and aren't going to vote and things like that. But what they're really doing is hurting Louisiana's businesses. Because somebody provides those people with the commodities that they eat.
Reintroduce.
I don't care whether you're Best Buy or you're the convenience store on the corner that takes SNAP. You benefit from the pension payments that the state of Louisiana makes.
Hey, how about the Walmarts of the world?
Absolutely.
The WIC program, this, that, the other. I mean, it's a benefit to those people. And I'm going to make a disclosure here that I do still shop at Walmart, but
I hope Louis Rand ain't listening.
I'm kind of ashamed. Well, I don't. I take my Albertsons bags and I kind of cover up the Walmart bag, but it's a little embarrassing. But they're a mile from my house. But I tell you what, when I do go in, I've got a stock line now. I'll go up to the biggest guy I can find in the store, the biggest supervision in the store. I say, hey, did you hear the good news? He says, what? What's the good news? I said, well, Walmart, when they run those people off for going on strike, have been found by the National Labor Board to be just
they were
wrong.
Guilty. Yeah, wrong.
Absolutely wrong. And the people are going to be offered their jobs back and back pay. Isn't that great news, man? And sometimes I don't get smiles.
Yeah.
You just get stuttering and stammering.
And you know what? Our Walmart hadn't found a 3X T-shirt, one of those lime green hazmat T-shirts, for me to wear in their store. And, I don't know what kind of organizational program they're running down here or what their budget is. But, if they came out with some lime green pins or T-shirts or
they got
something.
The T-shirts,
well, yeah, but they don't have
a few and far between.
They need a bunch because people would wear those T-shirts that are going to Walmart anyway.
They are on a shoestring budget.
And then lime green buttons. I support our Walmart or something of that sort. And we do. We've had. Getting off the subject of the insurance here, Eric, but we've had Janet Sparks here, who is spearheading the operation in Baker, the Baker Walmart, and they have made some strides. We had an unfair labor practice suit against a contractor, what was it, 15, 20 years ago, Neil?
Yeah.
And it took that long to get a decision. And our Walmart, along with the labor board that President Barack Obama has installed, it took them about a year.
Well,
that's stride.
And Eric, and I'm sorry, we've got Eric Fogelsong, and Eric Fogelsong, and Eric, tell the listeners who you represent, and that we'd like to do that 3 or 4 times during the course.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Again, my name is Eric Fogelsong, and I work for the Louisiana AFL-CIO and the National Public Pension Coalition. I'm glad to be with everybody here on a Saturday morning talking about how we can ensure that public employees are able to retire with dignity and that the pension system continues to function the way it's supposed to, instead of the way some of our elected Republican leaders would like to see it function. Mike and Neil, there is one important thing I would like to get to before our time is up this morning. And our success over the past 2 years has been determined greatly by your listeners. The only reason we have had as much success as we have had is because folks have been willing to pick up a phone and call their legislator or to send an email or write a letter. And I just want to let everybody know how important that is to our lobbying effort. It's so very, very important that when we go speak to legislators, that they understand how many people we speak for. Because I think that they lose their grasp on that. They all go around and make a lot of promises during election time, but once they're elected and they've got that little lapel pin that declares them a state senator or a state representative, they forget about some of the folks that they represent sometimes. And so I want to make sure that your listeners understand that our success is their success. Or I should say, their hard work is our success. We'd really like to come back on the show as we get closer to session and talk more about the things that they can do to help us be successful for them when it comes to fighting these legislative battles. We don't quite know yet what the exact bill is going to look like come this legislative session, but we're pretty sure that there's going to be one. The chair of the House Retirement Committee and the chair of the Senate Retirement Committee, who pretty much do whatever Governor Jindal asks of them, have both stated that they intend to bring back a bill to continue this effort to, ensure that public employees don't have a pension that's livable. They describe it in a different term, but that's how you and I can describe it.
Well, Eric, for the listeners that have family or themselves, family, friends, or all themselves that have a vested interest in what y'all are doing, which I even if you don't, you should have a vested interest in it. But if they got if it's hitting at home with them, is there any way they can follow what y'all are doing? Do y'all have a Facebook?
Absolutely, and Neil, that's a great question. We are going to be remaking a website for the Louisiana AFL-CIO and creating a Facebook and Twitter page for the AFL-CIO, specifically as it relates to this pension fight that we've got. And so I want folks to pay attention to that. For those of you that, do have internet access, and I realize not everybody in Louisiana does, unfortunately Bobby Jindal turned down some of that federal government money that would have made it possible for folks in our more rural areas to have access to high-speed internet and join us in the 21st century. Go figure how that's a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
But for folks that have internet access, I want them to stay tuned, and we'll announce it through the show when that Facebook page and Twitter account are up, as well as when the new website is up. And we'll ask them to go on and sign up and receive information about it. In the meantime, they can always call the Louisiana AFL-CIO offices and find out, how to get more involved. We can get them plugged in and make sure we've got their contact information. I figured you guys were going to ask me for the number. We didn't have it the last time we were on the show, but the number for the AFL-CIO in Louisiana is 225-383-5741. That's 225-383-5741. Folks can call there. They can leave their name and number, tell us that they're interested in this pension fight and they want to get involved. And I would encourage them to do so. But I also want to make sure that we let them know that, we are going to have a brand new website and social media campaign for them to stay abreast of what we're up to. And we will use that to help speak with the folks in the state, public employees, retirees, those that are invested in this fight and think it's important, so that they can help us contact their legislators. And we're going into one of the busiest times of the year as it relates to retail sales. And there's a message for legislators as we get close to Christmas, and that message is that without the pension payments that Louisiana makes, retailers lose, people lose jobs, and Louisiana loses. And that's a very important message that we need to communicate to legislators. And if your listeners can help us by picking up the phone and calling their own individual legislator, I'd encourage them to call Kevin Pearson, who's a state representative in the state house. He chairs the House Retirement Committee. Senator Albert Guillory, who's a state senator and chairs the Senate Retirement Committee. Pick up the phone and call those folks and tell them that you understand who loses when they mess with public pensions. And that's not just, the pension recipients themselves, but it's Louisiana's businesses, Louisiana's families,
well, they also need to ask them why was my pension not funded for all these years? Explain that one to me. Explain why, when you had a surplus of money, that my pension was not funded. Why?
Wait a minute, I can do that.
All right.
I can do that.
Mike's coming in here with some Kool-Aid.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, boy. Drinking the Kool-Aid. Give me the question again.
The question is, it's not the question. The thing is, Eric is asking the listeners to call these legislators and say, ask them a few questions. And I piped in, they also need to be asking why my pension was not funded.
I can answer that.
When you had a surplus of money.
I can answer that.
Answer.
Gutless politicians. Gutless.
Good answer.
Gutless, just trashy politicians, okay? On both sides of the aisle.
I agree.
We can't, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I'm a no-party voter in Louisiana.
I'm a Democrat, Eric.
And I'm not going to vote for anybody that hurts. You've got, the Republicans are just about all corporate. But you've got corporate Democrats too, and we saw this when they had a huge majority in the Congress and the 60 votes in the Senate. Look how long it took 60 Democrats. It took them long enough. We don't have single payer. We got Obamacare because gutless politicians kowtowing to the Walmarts of the world on the Democratic side. We didn't even get a term.
And Mike, it's worse than that, because it's not always that they have this intellectual belief in that corporate argument. Sometimes they sell out just because they got a committee chairmanship or something like that, or they're trying to do it for the governor.
Eric, I've heard it's come down to worse. It come down under Bobby Jindal to parking spots at the Capitol. And I've got that from very reliable sources that they voted for all this teacher mess over a parking spot at or the apartment.
The apartment complex. I would say
I heard
that.
Parking spots, okay? And that is just a gutless weasel politician, and I don't care what label they're carrying, okay? You're going to sell out the people over a parking spot.
Yeah.
Well, listen, folks get asked to help in so many different ways, help those less fortunate, help those in need during the holiday season.
Well, they talk all of that. I've heard that.
My holiday message to folks that care about these issues and our concerns, is that, if you want to do something for Louisiana's retirees and for Louisiana's public workers, take a minute out of your day and pick up the phone and call your state legislator and tell them that for Christmas this year, all you want from them is to vote their conscience and to vote with Louisiana's families and with Louisiana's businesses to make sure that public pension systems stay the way that they need to stay. And that if they don't vote the way that they should be voting on public pensions, that you'll remember the next time their name's in the ballot box.
And Eric, we were talking.
That's a nice Christmas message for them.
That is a very nice Christmas.
We spend more in stores this time of year than at any other time. It's Louisiana's businesses that are going to see the ill effects of these terrible, terrible ideas, and folks need to remember that, as do our legislators, most importantly. So send a little Christmas cheer to your state legislator. Have them, give them a nice little call. Tell them that you understand that public pensions affect not just the pension recipient, but the businesses of Louisiana and the families of Louisiana, the jobs of Louisiana, and that they need to pay attention to that. And they need to be thinking about that when it comes time to vote on pension issues.
And for those people that need to know who their legislator or their representative is,
it's really easy. They just go to the legislature's website and they can find it, or they can go to the Secretary of State's page, Tom Sedler's page, and they can find their legislator there as well. Just go online, and if they're having trouble finding it, tell them to give the AFL-CIO offices a call, and we'll help them figure out who their legislator is. Again, that number for folks, if they're ever trying to get a hold of us at the AFL-CIO, is 225-383-5741.
Give that number again, Eric.
225-383-5741. 225-383-5741.
Eric, now while we have you on the phone for the next 10 minutes or so, give us the ranking. What has more effect on a legislature? We went through this with Louis Wren, but we would like you to give. Okay. If
you're basically asking me to
a phone call, a letter, an email, one of these cards that are multiplied 1,000 times generic card, as Neil said. What has more effect on a legislature?
Well, let me start from a different standpoint, guys, and that is that any contact with your state legislator is important. It's important that legislators remember that they represent the people, and the people need to speak to their legislator to let them know what their expectation is for representation. So any contact is good contact. So I just want to start there. I will tell you that the legislators all have somebody who answers their phone or takes down their messages, and it has been our experience that they log contacts, they log calls on a particular given issue. And so, it may not be that the legislator, depending on how good they are at their constituent service, they may or may not call you back. But calling and leaving them a message, speaking with them or speaking with their legislative assistant and giving them a specific message is, in my view, the best way to contact them, followed by an email and then a letter. They do read their letters, they do read their emails, but I will be honest with you, I have seen legislators who receive a printed stack of their emails, when you look at their trash can at the end of the day there on the floor of the House or the State Senate, there's quite a few pieces of paper in there. It's pretty hard for me to believe that they've read every single one from cover to cover. Now, there are the exceptions to that rule, and I want to make sure that that's clear. But they'll get the flavor of their emails by scanning through them. But the best thing that folks can do is go ahead and put in a call to their legislator, followed by sending in an email or a letter to them expressing, their viewpoint. And I really can't stress that enough. There is a burden in a representative democracy like we have on the electorate. It's not good enough just to elect the person and walk away and think that you're going to get the kind of representation that you expect. You have to be an active citizen these days. You need to engage your legislator or your congressperson or your county commissioner or your city commissioner. You need to make sure that they know how you feel.
Now, Eric,
the more contact that they receive, the better off I think we all are.
Now, Eric, I just got a text from a listener that says, are you familiar with the Facebook page Pension Fight Club, which is a group of state employees for Louisiana that have organized to contact legislatures during the session? That Facebook page again is Pension Fight Club. Are you familiar with that?
That's a new one to me, Mike. Is it specific to Louisiana, or is that a nationwide one?
I don't know. I got
you got your iPad right there.
Yeah.
Wireless in the office, so you can pull it up, right?
I'm gonna pull it up. Oh yeah, we're wireless. We're wireless. We're good and wireless here, baby. Let me tell you, we're so wireless. I got wires hanging out of places.
I apologize, Mike. I'm not familiar with that one.
Do you know who talks more than Louis Wren?
Well, I've always said you, Mike.
While we're running here,
he's looking up the page.
We're gonna go to that page.
Well, Mike, while they doing that, I'm gonna go on and tell y'all that we're on WTQT 106.1 FM, and we broadcast from 7 to 9 every Saturday morning. And this is brought to you by the AFL-CIO and the Baton Rouge area building and trades. And we've got Eric Fogelson on the phone, and we cannot thank him enough for getting up this Saturday morning and calling in and giving our listeners I think you're opening up a bunch of eyes with what is going on.
Pension Fight Club have 223 members, and it's a closed group. This is a closed discussion group for Louisiana state employees who are members of the lasers or TRSL retirement systems. Members should share a common goal to protect the retirement benefits that were part of our employment compensation package. Only group members see post. Okay? This is Pension Fight Club at Facebook. 223 members as we speak. I'm getting more text.
Fantastic, and Mike, I'm so glad that those folks have decided to organize themselves and figure out some ways that they can help out. And as soon as I hang up, I know what I'm going to go do on my Facebook account, and I'm going to go ask to join that group, because that's a group that we need to be speaking with.
Hey,
120 folks that want to be involved and want to get active. We need to make sure that they're getting active.
Hey, you got to give this looks like a good tool to get people organized and get them to where they need to be as far as contacting legislatures. And I've contacted a lot of legislatures over the years, and I can honestly say that not one of them they may have not liked my phone call, but they took it. I can say that. And it's give them hell, Harry, a little bit or something, but they have taken the call.
Mike, let me interrupt you. We got two people that just walked in, and I know they're going to come on the top of the hour.
Right.
But, y'all know Eric personally, don't you?
Yes, I sure do.
Okay. did you know about this website? Well, introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, I'm Stephen Handworth, the Executive Director of the Louisiana Democratic Party. And, yeah, I do know Eric. And, no, I didn't know about the website. That actually sounds pretty cool. I can't wait to pull it up.
Well, we got it here, 223 members plus Eric. Now, Eric, we've got 5 minutes to go. What do you want to say in closing?
Well, a couple of things. It's great to hear the voice of Stephen Handworth, who's doing a fantastic job getting the Louisiana Democratic Party organized. My hat's off to that organization, and I think they've got, Stephen, if it hasn't already happened, I think you got some important resolutions related to public pensions and public employees on the agenda here in the near future, and so I'm excited about that and wanted to thank you guys for that publicly.
Absolutely.
In closing, guys, a couple of points for your listeners as they're out there. It's the holidays. It's a time when we get to see friends and family. It's a time when we get to speak and open up around, whether it's around a fire or over a couple of drinks or anything else. And I just want everybody to remember a couple of things. First, your voice is important, and your voice is needed as it relates to this fight. And so the more people talking about it, the better off we all are. So, I know sometimes politics is eschewed from the conversation, but now's the time when we all need to be speaking up. And so I encourage folks to make sure that their friends and family are educated about pensions in Louisiana, about the fact that it's not like folks are getting rich off of Louisiana's pension, that the average pension payment is as low as it is. Louisiana's workers don't get Social Security, and so their pension from the state of Louisiana, from TRSL, Lasers, Elster, the state police, the firefighters pension fund, that's all they get. And folks need to remember that those pension payments are spent in the state of Louisiana. They provide income for business owners, and they provide jobs. So make sure and take those messages to your friends and family and coworkers over the course of the next month. And if you can do no other thing, take the time to make a 2-minute call to your legislator and let him know that you care about pensions and you think that your legislator should too. Because if we get that message across to legislators, we're going to continue to have the success. We can fight back against the big corporate interests. We can fight back against the bad Republican ideas of Governor Bobby Jindal, and we can make sure that Louisiana's workers can retire with dignity. And I can't think of a better Christmas present that you could give to your fellow Louisiana citizens than that, to make sure that we end the cycle of poverty in Louisiana and that we make sure that public workers have dignity. Because giving a lifetime of service to the state ought to mean something, and I can't think of anything better to give them as a Christmas present this year.
Well, thank you, Eric. And Fogelsong, yes. Nice Irish guy there, man. But anyway, Eric, we appreciate you coming on, and you're welcome to come on anytime.
Guys, I always love the opportunity. I'll listen in to hear what Stephen's got to say, but keep fighting the good fight, and thank you, brothers, for everything that you guys do for the state of Louisiana.
Okay, and don't forget, go to Pension Fight Club on Facebook if you're a state employee. This group is dedicated to making calls during the legislature, when the legislative session is in, to making calls to the politicos, Democrat and Republican, to protect the pension funds of well-deserved state employees. Thank you, Eric.
Really.
Have a good weekend.
Have a great Saturday morning.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.
As we are closing in on the top of the hour, we've got another minute before we go over.
Yeah, why don't we just play a song real quick, Mike? Or you didn't bring one?
Okay, yeah, I got one.
Why don't you play a song?
Okay. You're listening to Baton Rouge Labor Radio on WTQT 106.1 FM, and we've got guests coming. we've got more guests in the second hour.